SQL Server software installation. First of all, we will go to this folder. This is a developer edition. We will click on the setup. This is the first screen. Planning doesn't have anything for us. It's just the planning. You can review this. This is just the requirements, security documentation online. Requirements is very important, as you know. But you need to know like what exactly one server needs based on the requirements of the application. So how much memory you need, how much CPU, what kind of disks and all, an operating system. What kind of operating system, what kind of SQL Server, stuff like that. So let's move on to installation on the left menu, and there are a couple of options. We will go with the first one, which is standalone installation. Standalone means on a physical server you are installing that. Next two options are there for cluster. We will use it later on. So let's click on this. Just letting you know that we have already one SQL instance. Here on the top of it we will create another SQL instance. We don't need to get Microsoft update all the time. It will take server resources. It will update the software time to time. We don't need that to enable. So most of the steps are completed in terms of requirements and installation file setup. So as you can see, no failure, there no warning. If there are failure, you cannot proceed to that. Just letting you know. And normally you can get a .NET. These are the requirements, regulations that it has to install SQL Server. So Microsoft .NET security, application security, that is passed. So all the requirements that is there, it passed. One warning is there, it's firewall warning. So that's responsibility of network support team. Let's move on to the next one. Installation type. Now, as we discussed, default installation there, and then named instances there. Here there are two options. One is perform a new SQL installation, and it's adding features. So we are doing basically new SQL Server installation. We already, you can see there is on one session is already there. On the top of it we will install new SQL Server. Again, one more time, we have SQL one instance, default instance already installed, and we are going to install an additional instance on it. And SQL instance is nothing but SQL Server. So one physical box can have multiple SQL Server, and each server will hold multiple databases. So licensing, this is product key, you don't need to change it. This is for developer edition and it's free. So we will leave it as is. And this agreement of license, you will just click it, you can read it, the agreement that is there. So SQL Server feature installation, SharePoint, it's for different application, but we will install the SQL Server installation, feature installation. what exactly you want to install. You want to install this database engine, replication, analysis service, or reporting service. And then as I discussed before, that instance root directory, you just need to change to a different folder when you go to work, not at home. For home laptop you will just leave it as is, you will not make any change here, but in the office you have to change it to a separate disk, not C drive. And the reason for it is if server crashes, you cannot retrieve the server back quickly, and there is a chance of losing data as well. And then instance name, it's a test, we will put it there, a test. Instance name is test. Okay, and we don't have to do anything else, just put the name of the instance test. And this computer has a name, slash this instance will be named. And this is the password that you need. At home you don't need to set up the password for that. It's just the default, but when you go to an organization, as I discussed, you have to change the SQL Server agent, database agent. Account name should be service account, that is created in Active Directory, is called domain user ID, so you have to put it there, and then domain user password have to be provided, and all the service will be running under that. And you should make all the startup time is as automatic, except the SQL browser, you don't need it, and so others you have to just enable, especially the agent, the database agent, analysis service, and reporting service. And authentication mode is basically how users will be connecting to it. This screen represents like there are two authentication. To connect to a SQL server, there are two types of connection that you can use. One is a domain user. Domain user can connect to this SQL server, or SQL server itself has own login creation process, and if a user is created from SQL server, that person can also connect. So two-way, one login creation from domain Active Directory, that is Windows user, that is called Windows user. Another one is SQL user or SQL login, that is created from SQL server. So both type of logins can access the server if you select the second one. If you select the first one, only a domain user can access the server. SQL login will not work. So we will select here this one and put any password that you want. Add current user. So I am the current user, you can add. So this is the computer name, this is my username. In organization you will see this is the domain name, this is the username. It will be like that, and this domain username you will get it from network support team. If you want, you can add anybody else, and this password that we put it here is for SA. So remember that, you can easily connect with that. Just put it SA password, and I will show you how to connect with SA password. Server mode, multi-dimensional data mining mode, we don't need it. We should be doing a tabular mode, but not needed. before I come to this place, there is another screen that you need to see in previous screen, that is data directories. You need to study all this. Data directory means the root data directory where the SQL Server installation will be. You need to specify based on what space you get. For now you are not changing it, but in organization the root directory should not be C drive, it's a different drive, and user database, that has to be specific drive. User database log directory, based on the space calculation and requirements you will set drives and you will allocate that there. So you need to understand it. If you don't understand, I can explain again in the class, but here for temporary databases, TempDB is a system database. This is the location you will look. If you want to take backup, this is the backup location that is there. You will configure it somewhere, and if you want, you can click it and you can assign whatever disks are there, and you can just allocate it there. But in an organization, you will get different disks. So next slide. It's not important right now because it's for analysis service and cube type thing. We can leave. As you can see, this is permission is for analysis service. You can either tabular or anything is fine for now. You can add current user, whoever is the installing, that person has the access there. Directory, just leave it as is. This is for not for SQL Server, this is for analysis service. We don't need that since we are installing it. You may see it. Reporting service, install only. We are not going to configure that, so just install only. We don't need the second point. And all set for the installation. So if we click installation, it will install. Okay. So I'm not going to click. If I click, it will install everything, and it will be one more SQL instance. So this is up to the SQL installation part. Just to show you multi-instance and explain you the concept, I've decided to just go with it. Let's let it install. So we'll just wait for some time, and once it's completed we will continue. Okay, so software installation is done. SQL Server. Now let's see the server. So once you're done with it, as I said earlier, you have to go to Configuration Manager. And where will you go to Configuration Manager? How? You can reach out. So on Start menu, you go to SQL Server folder. (2014) SQL Server. And then you have Configuration Manager here, and if you click here, this will be opened. So you can see a lot of services. Now we just installed test. I'll just remove it later on, or maybe I can keep it to show you features. But this is just we installed. The service is up and running. Now this is another server that I showed in the class. That this is one server. So two servers, SQL servers we have. Now why we use multi instances, I explained you in the class. So let me show you how I can connect to that two servers right now. Now this is the default one. Connect. Now you open the Management Studio, which is from Management Studio. You will get it here. SQL Server, and then this is the sign you will see. So this is the management. If you click that, this tool will open, Management Studio. And now how will you connect that? You connect like this. This is your computer name, okay, and they put the server name as computer name. Okay, while installing Windows, I didn't do anything. It will by default take your computer name. So this is the computer name you have. If you have specific name, it will, that is the default installation. If you do default installation, you will see it. So this is default SQL Server, and this is named, another one I will show you that is named, we just installed test. So slash test, and authentication is Windows authentication, which I showed. This is my username, and with that it's authenticating, and already I give permission sysadmin on the SQL Server, so it can connect it to that. Now you can also connect with another authentication, which is SQL Server authentication. That login is created by SQL Server, and the username is SA, and the password I have. So I can use that one, and you can see here Windows password. So now you can see, so these two are same. It's just one is connected by my ID, another one is connected by system admin ID. This is a Windows domain user, you can say. Not basically, here it's not domain user, but you can treat it as domain user. You can consider it domain user. This one is SQL login, SA. With both you can log in. This ID is created by Active Directory from Windows Server. This SA is created by SQL Server. You can create more login using SQL Server. Right click there, SQL authentication, test login. You can grant password to that sysadmin, so it can do anything. Okay, and then you put a password there, test 123, test 123. Just deselect all this. It's enforcing policy. For that we will discuss later on. Sysadmin rights, and then click OK, and the login is created, and you should be able to connect that using that login. It's test ABC 123. I think I am test 123, test 123. So now what is the difference? What is the difference between these two? One is this one, you can see just the name of it slash. So this is a name instance test. This is default instance. Now what is name instance? What is default instance? I will just explain that here. Named instance, default instance. Now if you don't mention a name instance, you are basically giving each instance means each server, SQL Server. Now why you need multiple server on one box when you don't have money, or organization doesn't have money and they need multiple servers? Especially for testing purpose, they use multiple SQL Server. So one reason is this. For example, a company doesn't have much money. So what they will do, they have one physical server, and on that they will install 4 SQL instances. And what is 4 SQL instances? Basically 4 servers, and say test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4. And as I said, machine name is one machine, which is computer is only one computer. Name of the computer is, so let's say Abu Talukdar is the computer name. So I have one computer, I have 4 instance, basically 4 SQL servers. So 4 SQL servers here. And what this 4 SQL server will do, suppose I have a software company and I made 4 software for 4 companies. One company is for school, one company is database for school or application is for school, another one is for library, one is for gym, another is for grocery store. So I cannot just put all the databases in one place, in on one instance or installation, or one instance or one server, because I mean there is a security issues there, that information will be provided, and also manage thing is also different, and different people has different requirements. So all the databases, for example, I have database belong to school, I want to keep it on one category. Okay, maybe some maintenance is needed in school, but that maintenance will not allow in other library or gym or anywhere else. So you cannot take the server down all on a sudden. So easy maintenance for that. We don't want to keep all the databases in one SQL server and handle that way. And also requirements may be there that this machine may need more memory, this machine may need less memory, or this SQL server need less memory, this needs less memory. So we can organize that way, that school needs little more, I have to allocate some more on that, and then library needs little less, so we can control that way. So one more time, SQL instance is nothing but SQL server for different applications we can use, but this is only done when the budget is low. For a big company, you will see multi-instance, one for test server. Okay, in organization you have projects that I said. You have projects A, B, C, D, and each project may use different testing servers. Now you want, like, okay, I don't have like that many testing servers, so I can allocate each project one server for testing, but it's the same physical machine, but SQL server will be multiple SQL server. SQL server is nothing, just like we have virtual server as we discussed, but actually it acts like a server, same SQL server, which is like it can hold databases, provide database services. So we can allocate that for any specific organization or application or stuff like that. So for sometimes multi-instance also allocated for UAT, for SIT, for same project it can be used like that. But UAT basically it's similar to production sometimes, because the budget is matter. If the budget is not there, then they will put it like that. Otherwise UAT will be similar to production, because it will require capability of performance testing. So that's all about the instances. Now we will go to configuration back. So as I said in the configuration, once you are done with the installation, you have to go for configuration. So right click on the properties, go to memory. Here you will use max memory, how much maximum memory each instance can use. So based on that, you have to allocate 80% of the memory. You need to check first what is the total memory of this machine, of your SQL server machine. And how you will check that? You go to control panel, you type here control panel. It's not acting like server that we work on, but I'll just go from here. Control panel, system security, systems. This is the place you can see 8 GB memory is total memory. So you have multiple instances, you need to calculate that way. You can divide that 20% first for operating system, then remaining you will assign it to, divide it into 2. So let's say 2 GB for operating system, remaining 6, 3 for each instance. or 2.5 for each instance. Processor, you need to understand how many processors you have, and you can see it from there. Based on that, you need to put here value for max DOP, parallelism thing. We will study on that later on performance tuning. The best value for that is put it there 8. So just in general you can put it there 8. Default database setting, whenever you create a database it will be created here, so make sure you change it appropriately where it's supposed to be changed. Connection, change this connection to 0, so all the time, so whenever this is a query timeout, somebody is running query and after certain seconds, and you will mention their seconds, it will be timed out. So just 0 means no timeout, so set it that way. So that is all that we have for installation and configuration class. Thank you.